Greetings, Simplicity. Today on our show, Follow Your Heart, we have a very different story to bring to you. But let us hear it from the man himself. Hi Harsh, thank you so much for joining on our show. We're absolutely in the middle of nowhere on the Kadambara Hills, which is near Anakatti, and you quit your job in America and you're out here with no digital invasion, absolutely, and no luxury with your project Gaia Grid. What made you take this decision?
Of course, it was a great career, but I think I woke up every morning thinking that I didn't want to do the job because something was missing. So I quit, and not knowing what I wanted to do or where I wanted to go. And one of my lifelong dreams was to be able to grow my own food or have my own supply of water without relying on anyone else, or somehow harness my own power, electricity. So with all these, or being able to make my own house, I figured that I'd rather start working on something that is more close to my heart. So this is when Gaia Grid happened. I started this project with 28 rupees in my pocket.
So what is Gaia Grid all about?
Gaia Grid started out as an acre of barren land on top of a hill. Land that usually people wouldn't want because of lack of resources like water or good soil. So it started out as that. And of course, while I had planned for Gaia Grid, the idea was also to create a self-sustaining pocket or sort of a model farm that would have its own electricity, own water, own shelter and own food. I wouldn't say it's a whole new design because this is how the Adivasis lived.
But why this land?
In most cases, they are looking for land that is low-lying, that is in the valley, that is closer to the river or any source of water.
That's how it has been when it came to agriculture.
Exactly. And my quest, more or less, was to look for land that is not easy to cultivate on. So as you see, this is on top of a hill.
Correct.
This doesn't have a lot of water. It doesn't have a lot of topsoil. And so my idea was, if I could create something here that was self-sustainable, if I was able to achieve that goal, maybe in 5 years, in 10 years, then it could sort of serve as a model
to be replicated
in different parts of the world where people don't have a lot of water or don't have a lot of soil.
But how far can one go adapting it?
I don't know how sustainable it will be in the immediate future because I constantly require funds. But once we have reached that point where we are able to harvest enough rainwater so that we don't have to get water from elsewhere.
Correct.
And grow our own food that we don't have to buy from the market, then I think the amount of reliance that we have on the outside world, so to say, will go down drastically. When this model is so attractive, is thinking of offering workshops, not yet, but when we are ready, to offer workshops for people, whoever wants to go off grid or learn something about sustainable architecture. So yeah, I guess with that format going forward, it would be like a unlearning of many things that we have learned in our schools and colleges and relearning things that we have forgotten from our...
Practically adapting for that matter right
Yes.
now. But to bring it to the people, what is your daily lifestyle?
Our daily lifestyle is very, very simple. We wake up with the sun.
Okay.
And we try to follow the sun cycle. So in the sense that we wake up as the sun rises and we do our hard physical work early in the morning before the sun sets in, and that includes a lot of tree planting, a lot of garden making. And after 2 hours of work, we have our breakfast and we try to eat as fresh as possible. So we eat a lot of fruits and vegetables that are sourced locally. And in our free time, we basically have a lot of conversations about how to better design this place and without, as you said, with minimal impact on the land.
Correct.
We do that, we play a lot of games, we read a lot of books, we go for trekking every now and then. There's a really beautiful river here, so we spend a lot of afternoons in the river, something I could have only dreamt of when I was working before. We again work in the evening, we do a lot of yoga. Yeah, that's how the day is, and as the sun sets, we also slowly go to bed.
Is there any message that you would want to put forward through your
Sure.
concept, Sky Grid?
Because you see, we have so many climate summits, and I'm not saying they are not important. And we have so much aid that goes to poor countries and developing countries or underdeveloped countries, mainly related to food. And I figure that if we were all somehow able to grow some of our own food, not all of it, then we would slowly start to get out of that system on which we are so reliant.
Correct.
So if you were to be autonomous as a person, at least in terms of food, water, electricity and shelter, then all this aid wouldn't be required, or at least the amount of aid would be required would be much less. And that also creates a huge impact on the local flora and fauna, because when everyone starts becoming a little more aware of conservation, you start to attract more birds into the land. You start to attract more animals and more fauna into the land. And with that, if that is a compounded effect, it could also affect the climate of a place. We have to think of it in an unselfish way, that what we leave behind for the next generation is not the money, not the riches, but the land and the air and the water. And if we were to keep the land as pristine as we found it, or maybe a little more pristine, and keep the water as pristine or a little more pristine, and the air more breathable, then I think the next generations would look back at us and thank us instead of curse us. So I think if every one of us made a little bit of an impact that way, of course we could do our part. It is not mandatory, no one is being forced to do it, but I guess we would all feel a little better about ourselves if we were to reduce our own footprint on this planet.
So that was a follow your heart story, which not just impacted a career change, but impacted environment, nature and earth around us.
Yeah, and just one more thing. Please stop worrying about society. We are all too caught up in what society thinks of us. Just follow your heart and it will never lead you to the wrong place. Thank you.